Hi, my name is Kat Graci. I'm in the Integrated Arts program at Innistil Secondary School, and this is my showcase. My showcase theme is about sexual assault and how it affected myself and the people around me throughout my life. This is the setup process. Here is the final product. I feel as though this is a topic that is extremely important to talk about to bring awareness and to destigmatize it. Some people don't even know that they've been assaulted until they maybe tell someone about their experience, and they usually think nothing of it. It has been a long journey for me, from being assaulted, figuring out that I've been assaulted, to coming to terms with it, my mental health, and even getting over the guilt. I wanted my showcase to exhibit that someone else's actions can really affect a person and how it is never the victim's fault. Explaining my work. This brings me to my first piece. This is an acrylic painting of a pair of jeans with unwanted red handprints. This is to represent someone touching them without consent, and how there doesn't need to be a physical mark in order for it to be considered assault. For the person that had been touched, it's almost like those marks stay there and are visible. When it happened, I felt nothing. However, it was almost like I could feel the touch linger on me. I fell into this robotic state, so much so that I developed a routine. One step in the routine was to do my makeup. That leads me into my next piece. Makeup was and still is a way for me to escape. However, back when the assault happened, I used to use it as a coping mechanism. It was a way for me to express myself and at the same time a way to cover my insecurities and perhaps any of the hurt that was visible on my face. I could cover the pimples that I would pick at until they bled out of stress and worry. I could cover the under eye bags that formed from the anxious thoughts keeping me up at night. Once again, this is an acrylic painting, but if you look closely, there are a couple small tears that maybe you wouldn't notice at first glance. Speaking of first glance, that brings me to my third piece. First impression of this may be that it looks a little off, and that it looks different than the rest. That is because this piece is done in pencil crayon and is distorted. The distortion is to represent a monster, or the worst version of myself. At this time, I was feeling a lot, and at the same time, nothing at all. I was angry at the world, but then again, I could cover it all up with makeup and no one would ever know. I was living a double life, happy one moment and sad the next. This time took a huge toll on my mental health and the people around me. It was like I was a different person, or unrecognizable. And that leads me to my fourth piece. My head was fuzzy. I was in a constant state of depression, in a never-ending cycle. This, once again, is an acrylic painting. It is to represent everything and nothing going on inside my head at that moment in time. I had a lot of guilt. I thought that somehow it was my fault. I thought that it could have been a lot worse, that I was lucky. Maybe if I had told someone, they could have helped me, but what if? What if they thought I asked for it? Maybe they would call me a slut, a whore. Maybe they wouldn't even believe me, because, boys will be boys. At the same time, I felt some things physically. That leads me to my final painting. I felt dirty. No matter how many times I took a shower, I never managed to feel clean. Showering became a huge part of my routine as well. I would come home from school, wash away all the makeup clogging my pores, and all the thoughts fogging up my brain. The shower was the only place I felt real and raw, the only thing that saw me at my truest form. I could let go of all my worries just for a couple minutes or so, and pretend everything went down the drain. My loud music echoed the walls to mask my sobs or the intrusive ideas in my head. It was an escape. The closest thing I would ever get from leaving reality, even for a couple minutes. This is my second last piece. Of course, I would always bring myself back to reality, and all of my beliefs beforehand would pour back down onto me. If you look very closely, you may be able to see some scars. This is to represent how well I was hiding my emotions, From afar, you don't see much, but if you get close enough, you'll see that something is wrong. Just like how it really was for me. If you haven't noticed by now, there are butterflies hanging above each work. That is to show rebirth, hope, courage, and renewal. Similar to how I felt after coming to terms with being sexually assaulted. Now on to my final piece. I designed this outfit and sewed/altered it to my liking. The whole thing is to represent what people think someone that was assaulted would have worn. However, for me, I wore nothing even remotely close to what is on the mannequin. What I actually wore is hanging next to the mannequin. Not that clothing has anything to do with how likely it is that you will be assaulted. Instead, it is to show how what you were wearing is unfortunately a common question a victim would be asked. Another question like, are you sure you didn't ask for it? What were you drinking? Or just blatantly being called a slut or a whore. I felt horrible for years. Maybe I made all of this up in my head. Maybe it wasn't that big of a deal, or maybe I was lucky that it wasn't worse. Maybe I am a slut or a whore, until I realized that I didn't ask for any of this, and I should stop comparing my experience to someone else's. What happened to me was and is valid. Sexual assault can happen to anyone. Finally, I can say that I feel empowered, and hopefully this can bring awareness to at least one person. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.